On Thursday, the U.S. national team announced its 23-man roster for this summer's World Cup in Brazil, and this happened.
Landon Donovan not to be on the 23-man squad.
It's likely that May 22nd, 2014 will be viewed as the last day in the U.S. national team career of Landon Donovan.
This has come as a shock to pretty much everybody.
If you were in his shoes, how would you feel? Like,
I'd be pissed off.
Would you be pissed?
Of course, man.
Hey everyone, welcome to this very first No Landon Donovan edition of MLSsoccer.com's Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage. I'm Greg Lawless, alongside Jesse Marsh, former U.S. national team assistant coach, and around here we've been slowly working our way through the 5 stages of grief about LD not going to Brazil. Jesse, what stage are you on right now?
I think I'm in anger.
Yeah, that's a good
mostly frustrated and anger because I'm not sure that this 23-man roster is the one to help us be successful in Brazil.
I don't think you're alone. A lot of the fans were expressing their anger as soon as the roster was announced. I'm at stage 3, which is bargaining, which is that, look, there might be an injury over the next 3 weeks or so, and Landon could be the first one called up. However, look, at some point we are probably going to have to get to stage 5, which is acceptance. Landon Donovan won't be going to Brazil. That means all the other 23 will, and congratulations to them. Now, they have 3 weeks now to get ready for that first game against Ghana. There are 3 games on home soil, of course, and it starts with Azerbaijan on Tuesday night in San Francisco. These games are important for them, and maybe even more so.
Yeah, well, now they have to iron out what's going to happen with the team on the field, and there are even more question marks because of the roster decisions, I think. And this is going to be a dress rehearsal, so they're going to have to put teams out there that they could potentially field against Ghana. I think the first question will be with the formation. Mm-hmm. They used a 4-3-3 a lot in qualifying, but then their last game against Mexico, they played a 4-4-2 with the diamond in the midfield. So there's some question marks there, and I think a lot of it will come down to how will they use Michael Bradley?
Well, Michael Bradley, of course, in that game against Mexico, they looked so good in the first half. He was at the top of that diamond. He was right in front of Kyle Beckerman, who sort of sat in there in that defensive role. But most people watching the game said, well, that's all well and good right now, except that when Jermaine Jones is back with the national team, it's going to be Jones and Bradley. Where do you fall on this one?
Yeah, it's more about, do they want to use Michael in a more offensive role where they give him freedom to really join in the attack and use some of his mobility? Or do they think it's more important for him to really take a defensive responsibility and help hold down the center of the midfield? So, and then when you look at that, you're talking about, okay, do you use Kyle Beckerman, knowing that he's a little bit more responsible and tactically aware in that spot? Mm-hmm. Or do you use Jermaine Jones in there with them and allow both of them some freedom to move around and make plays?
If you were Jurgen Klinsmann, what would you put in that situation?
It's a tough call, but I think that it's still important for Michael to start out with a little bit more of a defensive responsibility and then have freedom to join into the attack when he sees fit. But he does such a good job of reading things defensively, closing things down, and being hard to play against. So for that reason, I think that he sits a little bit deeper and probably plays with Jermaine Jones.
All right, well, let's go up to the front line. Lots of questions there. Terrence Boyd, he was cut from the 23, obviously. So now you've got Chris Wondolowski, Aaron Johansson, and the 2 big guys.
Yeah.
Josie Altidore and Clint Dempsey. How are they all going to be used in this case?
Well, when you look at the way that Clint's been playing lately for Seattle, which is more up top, but some freedom to move around, he's been very dangerous, been scoring a lot of goals, been setting up plays. So when you look at it, you would probably think that he's going to be closer to the goal in a 2. Mm-hmm. If they choose to play a 3, then they might have to tilt him a little bit because Josie's best when he plays up high, and I don't see them tilting Josie to either side. So for me, I think, again, that they would wind up playing with the 2 guys up top and having them work together.
Well, let's be honest, because if you move Clint Dempsey outside, you lose something, don't you?
Yeah, I think you do. And then again, who do you play on the other side? Do you use Graham Zusi? Do you use Julian Green? What do you do there? But I think, again, it's important for both Josie and Clint to be up the field, closer to the goal, finding ways to combine, finding ways to be in the box, and finding ways to score goals.
All right, well, that's a couple of the things that we're definitely going to find out over these next 3 friendlies in particular. But the big one, the big question mark really is the back line. We've been talking about it for weeks now, seemingly ad nauseum, about who's going to start in back. Clarence Goodson was sent home. Brad Evans, who most of us thought was actually going to be there, he was sent home as well. So now you have all these sort of different and new permutations along the back line. Where do you start to answer that question?
Well, I think you have to start with the two center backs, okay? And we've talked about Beasler and Gonzalez and the fact that they've played a lot of qualifiers together and that they've actually been successful in those qualifiers. But these games will be harder, more difficult, and better attacking players. So, is it going to be Beasler and Gonzalez? I'm not sure, because Gonzalez has shown that he can make some big mistakes. Is Brooks on the roster because they think that he's done really well in camp and that there's a possibility that he could be a pairing with Beasler? Not sure, but they definitely need to now put those two guys, whoever they are, on the field in these games and now start to iron out their relationships and now how they want those two to play together.
Now, have you seen enough from Brooks to justify in your mind that he would be a guy that could start in this?
No, I haven't. And he's had a little bit of an up and down year in Germany as well. So I wouldn't be so ready to say that he's ready to step in. Cameron is another possibility, okay? And athletically, he could fill in a role there and actually be effective. But again, he's shown that he makes mistakes. And with his club team, he plays right back more than he plays anything else. So Klinsmann has said that he sees him as a center back. Will it work? Not sure.
Well, we haven't really even talked about the outside wing backs in this case, particularly that right back role where probably the biggest surprise of the whole U.S. roster was DeAndre Yedlin being part of the 23. Let us know what you think are the big question marks that this U.S. team has to answer over the next 3 weeks and in the 3 friendlies, starting with the Azerbaijan game. Tweet us or leave a comment below, and if we use it on the show, you're going to get you some cool swag. Here, hang on. Some cool Castrol swag, including here. You want to hold it?
Yeah,
no,
sure,
you don't want to hold that. All right. That's it for us here on this No Landon Donovan edition of MLSsoccer.com's Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage. Thanks to Jesse Marsh. I'm Greg Lawless. We'll talk to you later.